If you grew up in a family where your place in the hierarchy was always clear, at the bottom, you know it doesn't break you all at once. It bleeds you out in little pieces, tiny cuts, day after day. Dallas, Texas, 2030. I'm Lena Ward, 29. To the neighbors, I was the Ward family's accomplished oldest daughter. But behind our front door, the family order never changed. Evan, my younger brother, wasn't just the golden child. He was the only child who mattered. My parents, Harold and Renee, ran a mid-sized import-export company. To them, Evan was the heir, the future of the business, the one who will take the Ward name further. Me, I was the leftover. I used to think that if I worked hard enough, they'd notice me. I kept a perfect GPA. I won statewide STEM awards. I secretly applied for scholarships because I knew no one would help. But every time I came home with a trophy, their reaction never changed. My mom would give me a polite smile, maybe a light pat on the shoulder. "That's great, honey, but Evan just got invited to dinner with his team coach. We need to get ready." I remember my high school graduation. My parents left halfway through to make it to Evan's scrimmage. My 21st birthday, canceled because Evan sprained his ankle and the whole family spent the evening in the ER. My first research grant, drowned out by the cheers over Evan's latest basketball sponsorship deal. Evan could skip assignments, sleep through class, and as long as he made one game-winning shot, the whole family booked a steakhouse and toasted like he'd just brought home Olympic gold. I didn't need fireworks every time I achieved something. I just wanted to be seen. But in the Ward house, you either revolved around Evan or you were invisible. I was born with a rare heart condition. The kind of thing doctors don't sugarcoat. Avoid extreme stress, monitor your heart rate. Never ignore the warning signs. I listened. My family didn't. From the time I was 12, I handled every part of it myself, scheduling cardiology checkups, filing insurance claims, paying medical bills. It was never a topic at home because in their minds I wasn't sick. I was dramatic. I remember one night at dinner, a sharp pressure built in my chest. My vision tunneled, my hands trembled as I pushed my plate away. "I think I need to lie down," I said quietly. My mom barely looked up from her phone. "You're fine, Lena. Don't make a scene." That's how it always went. My symptoms weren't real to them unless they fit the narrative of convenience. If I fainted during a family event, it was stress. If I needed to rest before a big gathering, I was ruining the mood. I learned to stop mentioning it, to keep my warnings to myself, but hearts don't care about family politics. And one sweltering night in August, mine decided it was done playing nice. Dallas in August feels like the air itself is boiling. That night, heat bled through the walls, the ceiling fan groaned like it was begging for mercy, and the street outside shimmered under the orange glow of the lamps. It started as a flutter in my chest, then slammed into a full-on, pounding rhythm, each beat uneven, violent. My breathing went shallow, my hands cold. I grabbed my phone. "Dad," I said, my voice shaking, "I need to get to the ER. Now, I'm 15 minutes from the house. Please." His reply was too calm. "Sweetheart, tonight's Evan's $1 million sponsorship signing. Your mom and I have to be here." I thought I'd misheard him. "Dad, I can't. Call a rideshare. We'll swing by the hospital in the morning." It landed like a punch I didn't see coming, not a fight, not a slammed door, just a choice, and I had lost to a business deal. I ordered the car. The driver's seat reeked faintly of fast food and pine air freshener. I pressed my palm to my chest, trying to slow my heartbeat, but it only got louder, a hammer inside my ribs. At every red light, I counted the seconds, my vision narrowing until the dashboard lights blurred. "Ma'am, you okay?" the driver asked, eyes flicking up to the rear view. I tried to answer, but the words tangled in my throat. Halfway there, the world tilted. My body slid sideways, the seatbelt biting into my shoulder. Then nothing. When I opened my eyes, a nurse was adjusting a monitor beside me. A doctor's voice cut through the fog. 20 more minutes and she wouldn't be here. They rushed me into ICU, tubes, cold, fluorescent light, the steady beep of a machine keeping score, and not one person from my family walked through that door. Not that night. Not the next day. Only Maya, my co-worker of 3 months, sitting in a chair by my bed, reading a paperback. And Mr. Jenkins, my widowed neighbor, bringing in a small bouquet from his garden because, as he said, every patient needs color in the room. By the third morning in ICU, the heart monitor's steady beep had become my metronome. Alive, for now. I asked the nurse for a pen and some paper. My hand still trembled from the meds, but I gripped that pen like I was carving into stone. 3 pages. No begging, no rambling. Just facts. I wrote about the 29 years of being an afterthought. About the science fair ribbons that never made it past the fridge. The birthdays that vanished under Evan's spotlight. And the last betrayal, the night my life was worth less than a contract. The final line was sharp, deliberate, almost like I'd been rehearsing it in my head for years. From this moment on, I choose me. I signed my name, folded the pages, slipped them into an envelope. Before discharge, I went back to my hospital bed, smoothed the pillow, and placed the letter dead center like evidence left at a crime scene. Then I walked out a day early. No one came to pick me up. Maya pulled up to the curb in her little blue hatchback, and I slid into the passenger seat without looking back. As we drove away, I felt lighter. Not because they'd read my letter yet, but because I knew they would. Austin felt different the moment I arrived. The air was warmer, softer, like it hadn't been holding its breath for years the way I had. Within a week, my job transfer went through. My new apartment sat on the 15th floor of a glass high-rise overlooking the lake, the kind of place I used to drive past and wonder who lived there. Now I had the keys. Mornings started with a running group that met at sunrise. The first time I was gasping by mile 2, my heart pounding in protest. But every step felt like proof my body was still mine to fight for. By the 3rd week, I could run the full loop without stopping. Evenings were for something I'd never allowed myself before, investing in me. I enrolled in project management classes and claimed the front row seat every night. For once, there was no one interrupting to announce Evan's latest headline. And then there were the small victories, the kind people dismiss until they lose them. Cooking in my own kitchen without rushing to answer a family text chain I was never really part of. Buying fresh flowers just because I wanted them. Hosting a birthday dinner for myself, the first one where I didn't have to fake a smile. Meyer and Mr. Jenkins became my chosen family. They didn't see me as a placeholder in someone else's story. On my birthday, they showed up with a homemade cake, 3 candles, and no speeches about anyone else. I blew them out, and for the first time, I meant the wish. 2 months into my new life, my phone lit up with a name I hadn't seen in weeks, Evan. For a moment, I just stared at it. I let it ring twice before picking up. His voice was different, slower, almost unsure. "They won't tell me everything," he said, "but after they read your letter, things changed. Mom's been crying a lot. Dad's been angry. They fight almost every night." I didn't fill the silence. Sometimes quiet makes people say more. "I don't know how to explain it," he went on, "but I'm tired of being the center of everything. I hate it. I'm thinking about leaving the family business." A part of me wanted to ask why now. Another part knew the answer didn't matter. "Do what's right for you, Evan," I said, my voice steady. "I'm doing that for me." There was a pause, the kind where you can feel someone wanting to say more but not knowing how. "Yes," he said finally. "I guess we'll see." When the call ended, I set the phone down and realized something. This wasn't an apology. It wasn't closure. But maybe, just maybe, it was the first crack in the armor of the family I'd left behind. The sun was just beginning to rise when I stepped out onto my balcony, a mug of coffee warming my hands. Below me, the lake caught the light, rippling gold as the city stretched awake. 2 months ago, I'd been lying in a hospital bed, waiting for people who would never come. Now, I was here, standing in a space I'd built for myself, surrounded by people who chose me without obligation or bloodlines. My family might never admit what they'd done. They might never change. But I had. I'd walked out of the invisible cage I was raised in not with shouting matches or slammed doors, but with the quiet, unstoppable decision to put myself first. I took a sip of coffee, the warmth blooming through me, and let the thought settle like a promise. Whatever comes next, it will be on my terms. And if they think this is where my story ends, they have no idea what's coming.